go back over things that we have already budgeted for, and this would kind of slow down that process. So does that kind of understand what, because I'm worried that this is going to take some time for them to get back. Hanging out there is a reason for us not to move forward with those projects. So that's the kind of amendment, Julie, that I mean, conceptually, I'm sure that's fairly.
And that's for 84?
That's for 84.
Okay.
Next is
That's 36, ordinance 36.
property is 36. Is that fireworks ordinance? Yeah. Okay. So with regard to 36, the amendment is on here and it wasn't on there before, so I wasn't sure if it was coming, but I saw the clerk's email on that. I have had some extensive discussions with Mr. Hawthorne in regard to sales and dates of sales and when he has high volume of sales in two different locations that he supports. He's got a business out on Greenwood Road and one on, I guess 70th is what I'm going to say the street is, but I may be wrong on the street, but it's 70-ish. That when looking at those two, there does appear to be a disparity on when the volume of sales are. So I understand where Councilman Jenkins's amendment is coming from, because there is a definite volume difference around Christmas and Christmas Eve. So what I'd like to consider is an amendment to the amendment, essentially, that allows sales on the 24th, that allows discharge on the 24th and 25th of December, as opposed to the entire week from, I believe yours is the 24th through the 1st?
Correct. It was the entire week. That's right.
But what I'm proposing on my amendment to the amendment to just include the 24th and the 25th.
And then January, December the
31st and the 1st. So that's just out there for consideration. These are things that I'm proposing, and since I know I'm here at the moment, I didn't want to miss the opportunity and give people at least the opportunity to think about it tonight. But there clearly is a difference between both those stores and the dates at which they do sales. So what I was evaluating before was fairly, I'll call it myopic, in the sense I only had one point of reference at that point.
So if there's no agreement between you and Mr. Sam Jenkins, then this would be a substitute amendment?
It would be a substitute amendment.
Or you would just have the choice of the two amendments to vote on. We'd probably make it amendment number 2.
Okay.
And then council can choose which one to vote on.
Okay.
Or both.
And I'm not asking for his commitment at this point. I'm just saying that's something that I'm considering based on some data that I now have.
Okay.
So those were the two, just in case I get called out of here. Okay?
All right.
Thank you very much.
Could I ask, Mr. Sam Jenkins, are you going to ask that this be voted on tomorrow? The amendment? I mean, the whole ordinance. It's his ordinance now.
But
I just did an amendment. Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
so yes, I do intend,
Okay.
unless there's reason for further
What I'm
debate.
asking is, should we drop the amendment?
We can do
And the answer, yes, please.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Sure you can.
It was brought up.
Sure you can.
And I'm just trying to make sure I understand. On the request that's going to the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development in NLCOG, I see Councilman McCullough, this is, of course, in your district. I was really just trying to get a good understanding of why that's being done. Is that some advantage to the city to have those streets redesignated? Because to be honest with you, I didn't realize, are they a part of the state highway maintenance now? Is that what's going on? Is Russell Road and David Range Road, is that a part of state highway maintenance or city?
No, that's the purpose of the resolution, is to get it minute. Do you recall the association coming down before this council?
Yes.
Addressing streets?
Yes.
And one of their concerns were to look at revisiting the idea of Russell Road and David Rains, the idea of them not being a minor arterial, And so the most recent bus tour that was provided by the mayor and his administration, with Robert Westerman participating, one of the questions that was asked by the citizens was if the identification of the roads could be changed. And of course, Robert Westerman said yes. And so as a representative, I have proceeded with that process. And this is pretty much the starting point. Their concern is due to the traffic flow, and I'm a witness to that. As a matter of fact, I tried to film it a couple of weeks ago, but it was real windy, and so for some reason the filming didn't take. But there's a whole lot of congestion on coming off of 173 Hillary Huckabee, whereby Russell Road and David Raines is being highly utilized. And of course, these are streets too that people from various communities utilize going back and forth to Southern University on a daily basis. So at the request of the citizens, they're asking that DOTD as well as NLCOG revisit the identification of these streets. So, and Oliver's concern was if it was going to prevent streets that were already identified as minor arterial projects that we have on the list now. And of course, my answer was no. This is something that we're trying to put in place so that in the future, they will be identified as minor arterials in order to receive funding.
For repairs.
Yes.
It'd be better to get them, and easier to get them repaired with this change.
That's correct.
Is that the idea?
That's correct.
Right. And I'm certainly not expressing any kind of opposition or anything. I just want to be clear on what was happening.
But I think the resolution kind of explains it, It gives did you get a chance to read it?
I did read it.
It didn't give you clarification?
You gave me more clarification just now, didn't you?
But you recall when MLK Association came before this council?
Yes, I remember.
I think they produced a video and showed you the different streets and everything, and that was one of their requests, as well as the most recent bus tour. I actually openly asked administration in their presence, because I needed witnesses, whether or not it could or could not be done. And of course, according to engineering, it could be done, but it was a process, and we're beginning this process with this resolution today.
Shine, I think to further comment on this, I think early on the council made some decisions about where to spend some street special revenue funds, and you tied the expenditure of those funds to streets that were classified as minor arterial streets. And so Russell Road and the other road were not included. Russell Road and David Raines Road was not included because they're not classified that way. So this is an attempt to get them classified so that when it comes up again, they can be considered in those.
Are they being maintained by the state now?
Oh, no.
No.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
satisfied, yes.
Okay, you're quite welcome. Oliver, did you want to get a word from the gentleman out there on your amendment?
I mean, we've spoken
Y'all have?
at length. I don't know what his comments will be, but I'm sure I'll be here through public comments. So.
Okay. A little late. Okay, well, you don't have but a couple of minutes to wait, because if it's all right with Mike here, I'm going to move this meeting pretty fast.
Wow. Can we hold you to that?
Ron, you know you can. All right, let's move back into our regular meeting. And Mr. Mayor, we are in your hands at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. In the interest of that swift movement, I will just simply say welcome to all of those who are here in person, as well as those who are watching us by Ustream. Always wonderful to have folks here engaged in the local democratic process. Mr. Chairman?
And Mr. Mayor, council members, if you all don't mind, I see a friend of mine sitting. Was it anything you wanted to bring before the council?
That's a whole.
Yeah, no, I'm talking right there in front, right? Yeah. Yes, sir. Okay, come on up then. I'm gonna use
Johnny
executive
Lars
privilege.
Jr., and I was supposed to meet here today in regards to,
Now give us your name again.
Johnny Lars Jr.
Okay.
Disregard,
Give us your
dispute,
address too, Johnny.
1677 Anna Street.
Okay.
It's a dispute I have about a bill that they got tacked onto my property, so I'm not able to even pay on the property tax because of this bill. And we went to court, and I told the judge, in order for me to try to address paying this bill, I needed a itemized bill showing what they're charging me for. But what they're charging me for, I don't feel that I should have to pay for something they came out and done that wasn't even on property that belongs to me. And furthermore, I don't think they should even came out from the start to do anything until they went before the judge. Now, last job I had in the military, I was colonel's driver. So, you know, since I had a few head injuries, maybe my understanding ain't quite as good as it used to be. But when someone says use on the orders to do something, it's my understanding that unless someone else with a higher authority come in and make a different change in them orders, those orders are standing. And I feel that I was doing what the judge had told me to do, and the guy that was in charge of the property standards area over there where I live at, I felt I had made those requirements. However, things did kind of get a little bit out of hand for about a couple of weeks or so because I was trying to get another vehicle and a truck, because every time I turned around, I was in court behind signal lights, tail lights, no lights on trailers and this and that. So I had got a brand new truck, brand new trailer. And it was one day before the
Mr. Lars, what is the address of the property?
1677 Anna Street.
I believe that that's a property standards case today, Mr.
That's coming up today. Okay, with Johnny, we're gonna pause right here, and we're gonna come back to you in a few minutes.
Okay,
Thank you, Johnny.
you're welcome.
Okay. All right. Mr. Thompson, thank you. Being so wise. Any council member have any awards or recognitions for anybody that's here today? If not, Mayor, we back to you again, and if you want to, you can take care of B and C at the same time.
Consider that done, Mr. Chairman.
Okay?
We turn it back over to you.
Oh, now that is really sweet. All right, Ms. Farnell, please.
Yes, sir.
We all like your new glasses. I think they're quite professional looking. Anybody have any questions for Ms. Farnell with property standards?
And thank you for the answer.
Thank you. All right.
Mr. Cornell, is that one of your cases today, Mr. Lars?
It is.
Yes, it is. It is.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we took care of my friend. Mr. Lars, did you go to Lanier?
No, I went to Halton.
You went to Halton? Okay. Man, I thought that was somebody me and you knew. Huh?
Of course, I went to Princeton first.
You went to Princeton first, and then you went to Halton.
Correct.
All right. In case Oliver doesn't know, or Mike doesn't know, back down those days, Mike, we couldn't go to Halton. We had to go to Princeton first, didn't we? Okay. Oh, I'm telling you. Okay, Miss Scott is not here. Thank you, Miss Barnett. Miss Scott is not here. Okay. Public hearing. Mr. Thompson, what?
I believe that the administration will have,
That's correct. We will on tomorrow.
Okay. Chief,
Sir, how are you?
I like that suit you got on today.
Sorry,
fella.
Just waiting for when I don't see a good-looking suit on.
Okay.
But that's correct, Mr. Chairman. We will have a presentation for the public hearing on the
Tomorrow.
on the restoration tax abatement.
Okay.
There you go.
Can I be? No, I haven't got nothing. Wait, I haven't got nothing. Yeah, okay. Okay. All right,
In the morning.
we're gonna be in your hands then, Mr. Did you wanna make a few comments about that today, or you wanna?
No,
about
sir.
Resolution 70, or you wanna wait until tomorrow?
On tomorrow.
Okay then.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Thompson, adding any legislation to the agenda?
We're aware of one, Mrs. Shine. It will be resolution number 91. If it's added to the agenda by the council, it suspends the effects of certain provisions of Chapter 10 relative to alcoholic beverages and Chapter 106, which is a zoning ordinance, concerning property located at 6 to 614 Uri Drive in celebration of a college bash on Friday, May the 16th, 2014.
Okay, we'll be ready to add that tomorrow.
Mr. Shine?
Yes, sir.
We also have one, I'll defer to the deputy clerk, Ms. Johnson, from police, that we'd like to add, ask to be added, if we may.
I did receive one late, and I've tried to add it and publish the agenda without it being on there. I don't remember the particulars.
It's for grant applications. Bill, you want to present this? I know that the deputy clerk sent a note explaining what happened. We were hopeful that the council would add it.
Okay, and it's just a JAG grant that we apply for almost every year. It's about $132,000 that we split with the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office. We'll get about half of that. And we're looking to use those funds to upgrade some of our computer systems. As you know, Windows XP is no longer functioning well for us, so we're going to try to upgrade some of those things using these funds.
If you get that to Mr. Thompson, we will make sure that
We'll
we
put it
add
on to be
that.
added tomorrow.
We'll add that tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Always supportive of grants, you know.
Okay. Okay, public comments. Lola Armstrong. Ms. Armstrong, you can state what you need, and I think we'll be able to take care of that.
Okay, my name is Lola Armstrong. I have vacant lots in the 600 block of West 70th Street here in Shreveport. All I'm asking for is time. I'm not disagreeing with the fact that the property needs to be cleaned up, though the property was not trashed due to my doing. So my attorney is looking into all of the other aspects of that, but what I'm asking for is more time to have the property cleaned.
Okay, we will get to that. Right, Ms. Farnell? Shortly. And I think you'll probably be satisfied.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Armstrong. All right. Ron? You want to come up and say a word or two? Because I don't know whether Oliver will be able to hear you where he went.
He took off quick, didn't he? Excuse me.
Yeah.
Ron Hathorn, 2260 East Burt Koontz is the actual address. And Chairman Shine, I'd like to take just a brief moment to make two apologies, please. Mayor Glover, last time I was here, I failed to acknowledge you and thank you for the privilege of being able to speak to the council and to you. I humbly apologize that I was out of protocol and order in not mentioning you and thanking you and the council for the privilege to stand here. I apologize.
Ron, he doesn't remember that, and I don't either. Do you, Mayor?
Mr. Chairman, I will humbly accept your apologies and express my thanks and appreciation for it, but they are completely unnecessary. No offense was intended, and certainly none was taken. And I will remind you of a fact that I, in fact, reminded some folks who sat on this side of the dais when I was a member of the council.
That's right.
And that is on this agenda. It doesn't say mayor's meeting.
That's right.
It doesn't say CAO's meeting or assistant CEO. It doesn't say head of planning or city attorney. It says city council meeting. And so we are here at their pleasure. And we're thankful for ability to sit here on the dais because my mayoral colleague down in Alexandria at one point in time was relegated to the front row.
That's right.
Of the council chamber. So thank you. We appreciate it. And again, no offense intended and none taken.
Thank you. Councilman Corbin, I wish to apologize to you in our levity between Joe Shine and I and the mayor concerning the statement that Joe Shine made in jest that you had a lenient personality because you were a Methodist. Now, Mr. Corbin, I'm a preacher's kid, Baptist preacher's kid, and immediately came out of my mouth what I said. Baptism, no matter what form it comes in, doesn't dictate what the heart is. So I humbly apologize to you in that jest that we took.
No offense taken.
Thank you so much. But we did find out in Caddo Lake one day something very important occurred.
1974, yes sir, it did.
Thank you for that testimony.
Absolutely.
Now, I've almost lost my 3 minutes, Mr. Shine.
We'll give you another 3.
Yeah, we'll give
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Before you, you should be holding a, some reasons that I believe, yes, sir, it should have been placed in front of each of you. Mayor, did you get one?
Yes, absolutely.
Mr. Sibley?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. That I feel that I would like to ask the council, as the ordinance is written, no amendments, as the ordinance is written, I would like you to vote no. No. And I'm not going to read these reasons to you for because of time. I would like to move, though, the first one to the bottom, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. And that one was the suggestion, that whole suggestion right there, which I concur with, was fostered by Councilman Corbin. Now, if you would like for me to expound on that, I will. And where we, as per his suggestion, where we'd like to go with that. The rest of them are.
Mr. Chairman?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, go ahead on.
Okay. Where we'd like to go with that statement number 1, if you would so like to hear it. If not, then I think it's self-explanatory. There's a little bit more to it in the last couple of days or so that we would like to try to get to. And that is in talking with, and another constituent talking with Councilman Corbin, we would like to see if we can't get some unity, not only with the city, Caddo Parish, Bossier Parish, Bossier City, Webster Parish, City of Minden, and I'm at all those locations, and we can even swing to Bienville Parish, where Chief Gary Hathorn is head fire chief of the Bienville Parish. So I feel like I can help with that committee, and maybe we can get some solidarity in our firework industry, but that would only be done if you as the city council would vote no as the ordinance is written. I know we have some amendments added to it. Not real sure about how the amendment is listed. I know Sam Jenkins has, Councilman Sam Jenkins has issued a amendment, and he wanted, I believe, he wanted that whole week, because that's when children, along with their parents, get money in their stocking from their grandparents, their great-grandparents, and it's a time in my childhood that I remember. Now, Councilman Jenkins said he didn't know anything about shooting fireworks at Christmas time. He's not here to substantiate that. But in my childhood, that's all I remember. That's when we did it. That's when we had the gift from our parents.
Let me ask Sam.
I'm telling you how old I am, I'm sorry.
Sam, did you want to make a comment on that?
No, Mr. Chairman, it's, I think you're gonna have the original ordinance, you're gonna have it appears to be 2 amendments that will need to be considered. Now, I think if everybody would remember the ordinance as it stands gives a pretty gives a lot of time, more time
Yes, sir.
for you to discharge the fireworks. Then Councilman Oliver Jenkins, it narrows that time down to, I think, July the 4th, and then I think, is it New Year's Eve?
Yes, sir.
New Year's Eve, I believe.
New Year's Day, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day was all that the original amendment that he, ordinance that he proposed, excuse me, not amendment, the ordinance that he proposed.
And now the amendment that I'm proposing would give you that entire week from New Year's Eve till the early morning hours of New Year's Day
Correct.
to discharge the fireworks. But the sale of the fireworks remain the same. So one of the things you said now, you're saying that Councilman Carpenter said the selling dates and shooting times should be the same, but I mean, as compared to what? The way the ordinance stands now? Or if the amendment that Oliver passes is only 2 days?
I know.
Look how many days it takes away from you being able to sell.
Right.
Or even if the amendment that I'm proposing passes, once again, you're narrowing down the number of days that you would be permitted to sell. So,
I understand. Would you like to elaborate?
Yeah,
Our
I'll weigh in.
actual thoughts?
I'll weigh in for a second. One of my concerns is I don't want to make a knee-jerk reaction changing an ordinance if I don't feel like it's enforceable. If we have a 10-day selling period and a 4-day use period, can Chief Shaw and his group actually go out and enforce this? You know, if somebody's going to go out and buy their fireworks and fire them up that night and we're out of the shooting period, then what kind of a burden are we putting on the police department as far as, you know, answering calls from people who don't like to hear fireworks? The other thing that I think is an issue, and certainly I'd like to see us get in line, or I'd like to see us consider postponing a vote on this until we at least have some conversations with the parish. I know a quarter mile from my house, I can go to a parish, in the parish fireworks stand and purchase fireworks and come back to my house and light them up if I want to. And if we talk about restrictions for selling within the city or use within the city, and all we have to do is cross the street to purchase those fireworks and bring them back in to use them from a parish stand, I think we're creating another kind of a nightmare enforcement scenario there. So I would just ask that we continue the conversation, consider postponing this until we can, you know, hear a little bit more both from Chief Shaw as well as have some conversation with the parish and see if they've got any interest in trying to align our usage dates and sales dates.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
So I may weigh in on this. I don't really have a problem with the time of sale or the time of usage. What I have a problem with, and that's opening up another can of worms, just like you talked about, you can go across outside the city limits and buy something, bring it back into the city. And the same thing, you can go to Wascom and buy fireworks and bring them back to Shreveport. But some of these fireworks that they're selling today, it sounds like bombs going off. You know, that's what angers me. You know, I don't mind the celebration of, but good gracious, I mean, wake up the dead, you know, some of that stuff is so loud. And I don't know, are we selling that stuff here, or are they bringing it from somewhere else? Because, I mean, fireworks has changed from when I was a kid.
It has changed a lot. And I'll tell you, in the council, for the benefit of education, if the firecracker is this big, or if the firecracker is this big, it only can carry 50 milligrams of powder. Okay?
Then what they're selling is illegal?
No, sir.
To be
We said a
that
firecracker.
Now, some of the cakes, of which cakes are multiple shooting items, they can have a charge load of more than 50 milligrams, but the actual pop in the air can have not more than 50 milligrams of powder. Okay? But in order to get the lift, it can have more than 50 milligrams of powder. Now, what they're shooting, so long as it carries 1.4 G on it, it is a permissible selling firework by the Public Safety, DOT, State of Louisiana, United States. It's a federally governed firework. Now, I have to be careful, Mr. Webb, because there are some firework dealers in the state of Louisiana that are more than likely selling some that are not.
That's what I figured.
Yes, sir. You're figuring, and I have to be real careful here.
I understand.
Oh, and I'm not pointing any fingers at anybody, but yes, sir, there are some firework vendors that are possibly selling bottle rockets. Also, there are firework vendors that are selling things that legally outside the city limits that the city does not allow to shoot inside the city. And that's part of what Councilman Corbin is suggesting. We need some consistency in the parish. And I thank you for your comment on that. It really doesn't bother you, but some of them are pretty loud.
They are.
I want you to also, if you don't mind, look at, I think it's number 5, the dilemma that we have with just shooting on the 4th. Now, I will speak on behalf of Oliver Jenkins, if you don't mind. He says that the 4th is a federal holiday, so everybody should be off. Is that right, policeman? Fireman? No, they're not. Not everybody's off. Churches, communities, other entities in our parish and in our city, especially churches, choose to shoot fireworks in a patriotic manner with their families and their youth on the weekend before the 4th. Sometimes we get lucky. The 4th falls on a Saturday and Sunday. But it also falls on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And you let the ordinance pass as Mr. Jenkins has it, then you have stopped the privilege of patriotism from the church, community, and some family groups, companies like Tango Trucking, other companies within inside of our city that has employee time. It, I think, will hurt business. It will hurt a little bit of patriotism. The rest of it, I think, is pretty self-explanatory. Mr. Councilman Sam Jenkins, you understood what Michael was saying about if we sell on June 30th, you say you can sell on June 30th, you can shoot on June 30th. You sell on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and the 5th, you can shoot those days. That's what we mean by consecutive. You postponed the bill last time so that Oliver Jenkins and I could have probably a discussion on making some concessions. No concessions from that side were made. None. I will speak for the firework industry. I believe that we could shorten the days, shorten the selling season, but they need to be consistent. If you sell them on the 30th, the customers and the people should be able to shoot them because of it being enforceable or non-enforceable. Now, I will tell you that Bossier City at one time had that ordinance, that they allowed only the selling and the shooting of fireworks from June 30th to July 5th. didn't work. People were coming to Shreveport and spending their tax dollars, and some folks didn't appreciate it, and they were going back and shooting them. Same problem. So if Bossier doesn't align, they're going over there to get them. Or they going just like out, just not far from his house. There's a location that they can go get them and bring them back into the city. So in conversation in a roundabout way with Councilman Corbett, I believe that he's 100% correct. They need to align. And given the opportunity, I believe I can make that happen.
Are you talking with the parish about their
I have not
ordinances
talked to,
forward?
have not, but I do have the, I think I have the avenue in order to do that with Sandy Davis and with other folks that my brother, who was retired, Gary Hathorn, firefighter, whatever. I got it. Yep, there we go. He was raised up with all the folks that are now in the elite part of the, or whatever, the management part of the fire department and or the parish. And I think I can coordinate and make this fit Michael Corbin's suggestion. And I'm just asking you for that privilege to do that. But I think in order to do that, it would, in our best interest and the best way to serve that would be to totally vote no as the ordinance is written, give us a fresh start. And I promise you I will work on it. And that's not off the cuff promise.
What is the indication or the pleasure of the council at this particular point, so we'll kind of know what we're going to do on tomorrow? We heard his pleasure. Now let's see what's the pleasure of the council, because you all are the folks that's going to vote on this.
I think it would be some benefit in hearing.
To postpone? Or?
Yeah, in hearing what the parish
okay.
has to say about it, to see if there's some way to get some uniformity with it. But ultimately, Jenkins has said in this seat is going to want to make the call as to whether he wants to move forward with his legislation tomorrow night. But I'm just simply saying I can see some benefit in maybe seeing what the parish has to say about it.
Mr. Hogan, we're probably going to be, we're going to have to give Oliver Jenkins an opportunity tomorrow to state his position, because he's a friend of Sam Jenkins, and Sam needs his vote from time to time. So you happen to be a non-voting member of the council. So tomorrow we'll take a look at this again, and I know you will be here.
Yes, sir.
And we'll see where we'll move at that time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, let's move on. I believe that's the only person that we have that wanna. I know what. We're gonna come to you, Mr. Lawrence, when we get to your particular piece of legislation on the council. Okay, Mr. Sibley, if I'm not asking too much, we have no confirmation of appointments.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Then the consent agenda.
Under Section 8 consent agenda legislation, there are no ordinances or resolutions on introduction. There is one on adoption. Resolution 86 authorizes Doris Allstott, located at 5687 Jefferson Page Road, to connect to the water and sewer system of the city of Shreveport.
Ms. McCullough, do you have any comments on that?
I just wanted to hear if maybe administration or someone had spoken with the citizen, because I hadn't heard from anybody. I mean, are we okay with this? It seems like it's a go.
Yes, ma'am. And Patrick, everything seems good.
Okay. Well,
as they say, it's a wash, huh?
Right. Yes, sir.
Okay, let's move on, Mr. Sibley.
Under Section 9, regular agenda legislation, Sub A, resolutions on second reading and final passage, or which will require only one reading. Number 70 states the City of Shreveport's endorsement of Petroleum Building LLC to participate in the benefits of the Louisiana Restoration Tax Abatement Program. This matter is not to be adopted prior to May 13, 2014. There is a public hearing scheduled for May 13th, and we will have a presentation for that.
I'm hoping that we will have some words from the administration and from our distinguished Vice Chairman of the Council.
Resolution 80, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
A resolution supporting and encouraging the adoption of House Bill 1097 of the 2014 regular session. This matter was previously postponed.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the council, we would ask that you all still act on this particular piece of legislation. We think it will add to what's already been done. You all were gracious enough to sign a letter that was forwarded to the committee. The bill was unanimously reported out of committee right now. There's awaiting action on the floor. Has picked up what we think is a very good amendment that came from Councilman Thomas Carmody, former member of this body. And we look forward to having it move forward through the House and hopefully on to the Senate before the process is up. So we'd ask that the council still act, and we'll still add this to the package.
I was wondering, Mr. Mayor, we could get our good friend, Councilman Jeff Everson, to call his good friend, the governor. Might be able to get a little...
If he was a friend of mine, that would be a different thing, but be happy to if I did know him. But
Okay, looks like I overspoke a little bit there, Mr. Mayor, so I'll retract that.
Remember, I am a Democrat.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Dale, scratch that from the record here.
Scratch that.
Okay.
Continue, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Resolution 81 approves the budget for the Caddo Shreveport Sales and Use Tax Commission for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2014.
Any questions, comments? If not, proceed.
Resolution 82 declares the city's interest in certain adjudicated properties as surplus.
Any questions or comments? If not, proceed.
Number 83 declares certain adjudicated property to be surplus, which will authorize the mayor to sell the city of Shreveport's tax interest in these adjudicated properties.
And Mr. Mayor, I almost was a little funny there about selling property for $1. Flipping it, but I'm not going.
Per acre.
I'm not going to comment on that. Dale,
Number
your
80.
friend, you might fall out with me. Okay, go ahead, Dale.
Resolution 84 is a resolution to request Louisiana DOTD and NLCOG to change the functional classifications of Russell Road and David Raines Road from minor collector urban to minor arterial urban, to request the administration to prepare and submit the necessary application and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I think we've heard some back and forth on that. Nothing else that anybody want to add? Move on, please.
Resolution 85 commemorates the life and accomplishments of Dr. Isaac Greggs, a native of Shreveport and the former director of the nationally known Southern University Marching Band.
Yeah, we'll be asking the council to support that resolution on tomorrow. Dr. Greggs from Shreveport, director of the band, passed away, was laid to rest on May the 2nd. So, we do not want a native son to go unnoticed. Appreciate your support.
Were you one of the captains in that marching band down there?
Now, I was not in the band, Mr. Chairman, but I certainly was a fan of Dr. Greggs.
Okay then. I thought maybe you might have been one of those famous band members. If so, Dale and I was going to ask you to do us a little light
A step or two.
Yeah. Oh, I know what. Mr. Thompson over there, I think he played in the Webster High School band.
That was not the Southern University.
Sean?
Yeah.
I'd love to see either one of them put that hat on and do that backwards bend until it touches the ground behind it.
I don't know about Art, but I wouldn't be able to straighten up again.
If Art would do that at this stage, we'd have to put him in rehab.
I'll try it if you will, Mr. Chairman.
No. Okay, Dale, proceed, please.
Section B is introduction of resolutions not to be adopted prior to May 27, 2014. Resolution 87 suspends the effect of Section 26-211 of the Code of Ordinances and authorizes the City of Shreveport to retain the services of Grigsby and Associates for the limited purpose of providing financial advisory services for the sale of the remaining general obligation bonds approved by the voters of the City of Shreveport on April 2nd, 2011.
Do we have any comments on this?
I can make a comment.
Please.
Councilman Sherman.
Okay.
Since I've been aboard on the council, I've just been, as I said previously, sitting in on committee meetings, listening to results from the internal audit as well as the external audit. I've also been listening to the various constituents within the different districts. And I didn't get an opportunity to attend the breakfast this past week or so. As a matter of fact, I got there, I had a dental appointment, so I got there a bit late. And it appears as if though some of my colleagues on the council are a little bit upset based on the name-calling situation. But my concern is such that, and this was noted in one of the community meetings in Jeff's district this past week. One of the pastors stated, well, if you were not guilty of something, to say that you're guilty, you're really saying that I'm a thief. And based on the information that was provided at this community meeting, I feel like we owe it to the citizens, we owe them a public hearing so that they can hear everything that has transpired up to this point. I'm hearing comments like, well, you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, but not so in the city of Shreveport. You're guilty until proven innocent. And the name-calling situation, no, it wasn't a good thing, but, and I'm being the devil's advocate here, being a minority, being a part of a minority in a situation like this, if I'm being identified as a thief, certainly, if I'm not guilty, this feels like a form of lynching to me. And so I feel like we owe it to the public to allow, to have a public hearing, to allow the public to hear about the internal audit, the external audit. What happened with, as I understood it last week, there was a proposition. It started out as one that was divided up into three as a result of three different charges that led to the $53,000. And personally, I would like more clarification as well. So that was my main purpose, and just looking at how Calvin Grigsby has demonstrated, according to this resolution here, substantial savings to the city of Shreveport. He has really labored. He has saved the city of Shreveport millions and millions and millions of dollars. And as I understand it, a suit has been filed. And so, again, a person is innocent until he's proven guilty. And I spoke with one of my colleagues prior to walking into the chamber today, and they expressed, well, even the internal audit said he's guilty. Well, I never heard that. I never heard anybody sitting in on the internal audit meetings, administration ever say that Calvin Grigsby was guilty of taking the $53,000. So I even spoke to Lenny, I spoke to her and I said, I really want to come and meet with you in your office because I need her to give me a refresher on the internal audit as well. But sitting in on those meetings, internal audit meetings, I never heard our administration ever indicate in any way that Calvin Grigsby was guilty of actually taking this money. I feel like that we owe it to him, until this go to trial, let it actually be proven that he's guilty, of taking the money. And as we've said before, He has in good faith set aside the money in an escrow account, inviting the city to sign their name to it. And, after everything has been heard, if he's guilty, he's willing to pay this money back. But it appears as if though we're not even willing to. I can understand his frustration. I don't agree with the name calling. And of course, Councilman Shine, you and I, the earlier part of the year, we kind of got into that as well. And sometimes when you're frustrated, you tend to do that. And as human beings, we make mistakes. But again, we have to consider the fact that Grigsby has actually saved this city a considerable amount of money. Grigsby has always also worked for other states as well. I think he's from California. He's worked for Cook County in Chicago. I think a suit was filed against him in that. Each suit that has been filed against him, at the end of the day, he's won it. I think the very last one, he came out smelling like a rose, $500,000, because something of the same sort had occurred. So I'm asking the council, the city of Shreveport, on behalf of the citizens, allow the citizens to hear all sides and hear what they have to say before we take it upon ourselves to make a decision. It was also mentioned at the community meeting. I heard Councilman Sam Jenkins mention that, the law says that, if this occurs, we have the right to fire our financial advisor. But also, it was mentioned that we need to research our city charter. I would like to have an opportunity to do that as well, because I'm not quite as familiar with the city charter, in lieu of us firing someone that we have authorized the mayor to hire. So I'm going to be asking you to, think about this. I don't feel like we've given him a fair shake. And again, I don't agree with the name calling. But, speaking from a minority standpoint of view, if I'm not guilty, I feel like this is some kind of lynching. So let's allow him an opportunity. Let's allow this to go to trial, and at the same time, allow him to come back. We only have 6 months left coming up to the November 14th election. And since this man have labored, since he's saved this city a substantial amount of money, allow him to come back and finish what he started. And when the new mayor comes aboard, if he doesn't want Calvin Grigsby, he has the authority not to hire or maintain Calvin Grigsby. But the public I know the public, and speaking from a minority standpoint of view, they are very upset. They feel like Grigsby has been dealt an injustice. And even in speaking with some of the ministers in the city of Shreveport, they feel like Grigsby, has been dealt an injustice due to the fact that he is a minority and he's very successful. They feel like it has been by design, that the external audit has been done, as a means of showing favoritisms, of maybe removing a minority in order to bring in some of your good friends. So I would like to just see at the end of the day if he is actually guilty of taking this money. And I'm asking you to allow the public the same privilege to hear all sides of the story.
Ms. McCullough, I'd just like to make 2 statements. First of all, I have never been involved in calling somebody a name on this council. Now, I have been called. Matter of fact, I was called boy by you, and I didn't.
That's what I was indicating. That's what I was expressing.
Well, but see, I wasn't involved in it. I didn't call, and I didn't, at my age, Dale, and the way my hair look, anybody call me a boy, I take it as a compliment. I don't take it as anything wrong. It's been so long since I've been a boy until I got 2 sons at home, and it's been such a long time since they have been boys until, I look at it as a compliment. So I don't want anybody to think that I've been involved in calling somebody a name on this council. I've tried to be professional and Now, you know, and I will admit to this, Mr. Mayor, we might walk back in this back room where it ain't nobody but me and you. I might call a couple of names, but I never do it in public and in a professional setting. I don't let my emotions get that much of me. And the other thing, Councilman McCullough, like the mayor said earlier to Mr. Hogan's, this is a public place, and any member of the public is always welcome to come to a city council work session or a city council meeting and ask any questions about anything that they would like to, and I think that we will try to provide them with an answer. It might not be the answer they want, but we will try our best to provide them with an answer. If there are persons out there who I think we've had Tuesday morning breakfast. I was there. I sit all the way through the Tuesday morning breakfast, and because I had other appointments, but I thought it was necessary. Now, at the meeting on Tuesday, I believe in Jeff's district, I don't think Ron and I saw the necessity to go. I think Jeff was there, and I'm told my good friend Sam was there, because Sam was born and raised in Cedar Grove.
Stony Hill.
I'm sorry, Stony Hill. I'm sorry, Stony Hill.
Didn't let us come and Cedar Grove doing
Yeah, right. That's Mike and I's territory out there in Cedar Grove. So, Ms. McCullough, if there are any persons who would like to know anything about it, please tell them to come down. And matter of fact, I will request a written answer from our clerk over there, but I'm not going to ask the clerk to go out in Cedar Grove or anywhere else when we have this nice, comfortable chamber down here that they would be welcome to come to. All right, let's move on.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, though, if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
I just want to bring a little clarity to something that was said. Of course, I was at that meeting last Tuesday, but I don't think...
I'm sorry, Jeff was there too.
Yeah, he's certainly there. I don't think I used the term...
District, yeah.
I don't think I used the term that Mr. Grisby had been fired, or that we have a right to fire him. I don't think I've ever said anything.
You referenced the law.
Well, let me just say this.
Okay.
I've never taken a position that the council fired Mr. Grisby. I don't know if his contract has been terminated for that matter either, so I don't think those are the terms I've used concerning the situation. I think what I was referencing was the city policy about owing the city some money and being able to contract with the city. I believe that's probably what you may recall I was discussing, but as far as him being fired or terminated, I don't use those terms because I've never taken a position that has officially occurred, that he's been fired or that his contract has been terminated. So I try to steer away from that kind of a thing. That's the only reason I want to say something now.
I'm glad.
I don't want my conversation to be taken down the wrong road.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go. I mean, it's kind of like me. I didn't want to be. It seems like that I was involved in name calling house, and I don't. You call me boy. Just well, Dale, I was about to say, just as long as you don't call me a girl, you can call me that. It'll roll off my back. So, are we through? Let's move on, Dale. Yes, sir.
Before we, since I know this is a matter that's on for introduction, and I guess the real question will be whether or not it gets a chance to come on for a second reading, and I certainly appreciate the comments that have been made by Councilwoman McCullough and the clarification from Councilman Sam Jenkins. This particular resolution simply represents another attempt on the administration's part for us to try and find a path forward to be able to address this situation. I think that the truth of the matter is that this council came to this body with, for whatever reason, at least for some members, and maybe that exists for some others now, but came here with a pre-made up mind about whether or not Mr. Grigsby was someone who was worthy or qualified or capable of being able to do business for the city of Shreveport. Without question, in the prior council, Mr. Webb had some concerns that we attempted to address and resolve. We had that discussion back and forth. The council made a decision in terms of allowing us to go forward. We did that, and we think we have laid down a legacy of outstanding work that has been to the benefit of the city of Shreveport and at an expense to the city that we think is a tremendous value, especially when the only point of comparison that we have are the records that we were able to compile from the previous administration, which indicated a financial advisor being compensated for $2.8 million for 2 years worth of work, where in the entire span of the time that Mr. Grigsby has been contracted with the city of Shreveport, his compensation has been $1.2 million. We spent that $2.8 million to put us in a position to be at risk for potentially bankrupting the city. Mr. Grigsby helped to assist us in extricating ourselves from those circumstances for a fraction of that. The real question here comes down to, from my perspective, the motivation of much of what's at work here, and that is those folks who believe that the work of Mr. Grigsby has not been done in a fair, honest, above board, and transparent fashion. This council was of that opinion. You took about the efforts of an internal audit to try and make that determination. You did not receive the response from the internal audit that you thought was in line with what you thought was actually transpiring, and so there was an external audit or an external investigation that was initiated. That particular effort, at a cost of over $100,000, came back to conclude that there was nothing to be found. And what ultimately transpired is, after this council gave authorization, after documents went to the State Bond Commission, Mr. John Neely Kennedy, the state treasurer, someone who happens to be a Republican, someone who happens to be a stickler for ensuring that the public dollars of the state and all of these various public bodies are expended in an appropriate fashion, signed off on. This council's administrative staff, all of us signed off on this and said that these are appropriate charges for the work that has been done. In fact, for that particular piece of work, for what's at issue here, $82+ million in bonds that were sold, the lowest interest rate received in the state of Louisiana for 2011, and the charge of selling those bonds was the lowest of any bond transaction in the state of Louisiana for that year as well, at 0.2% of 1%, $153,000. And it was only after that work was done does the opinion change, and we now retroactively said we know we authorized, both as administration and as a council and by the State Bond Commission, do we come back and say, no, we know what the investigation came up with, that's nothing. We know what we suspected, hadn't been able to see into that land anywhere, all of which constitutes calling me a thief, someone who is engaged in a corrupt practice to charge a greater value than for the work done, and to somehow see that return to me for some personal benefit. That bothers me, prompts me to want to say some things that would not be appropriate, but I'm not going to do that, haven't done that. But that's what the record is. I indicate that by going back and pointing out in the fall of 2011, when we put forth the effort to do the Fix Shreveport Streets Now initiative, there were those who publicly stated to this council and to the citizens, and who much of which parroted much of the dialogue that went back and forth, that the real motivation for that, council members, was not to fix the streets, which the council-wide is that you, God bless her, you have Councilwoman Rose McCullough trying to reclassify Russell Road and David Rains to try and get them in a position to be able to get access to some money for streets that are much need of repair and that are causing great harm to her district, because we don't have the resources available right now to be able to go out and address those. Or at the same time, we're fixing some streets that are certainly less than in bad repair, but that's another issue. But when we went out for that effort to try and put us in a position to do the work that needs to be done across this city, there were those who said that the streets weren't that bad, really didn't need to be fixed, and that the motivation of the administration was to come up with another bond transaction so that Mr. Grigsby could generate fees, and so those fees, at least somehow in portion, could be kicked back to me as the mayor of the city of Shreveport. Now that was what was behind the scene, Mr. Shine, as you said, not necessarily said from this dais, but certainly what was being fed to you all as council members and to the local media and to the public as to why it is, one, we should not look to go out and come up with additional resources to fix our streets, which we've now seen that we actually need, and two, to justify both the internal audit as well as the external investigation that were done. Now, if that's not calling the man a thief, I don't know what is. But those investigations were in fact done. Those dollars were in fact spent. That internal and external investigation came back and found nothing, no violation of any sort. And so then we go back to the billing of what was already the lowest priced bond transaction with the lowest interest rate in the state of Louisiana for that year. And we've been at an impasse ever since. I mean, it's like asking someone who has done honest, earnest work that needed to be done, that put us in a position to be able to effectively safeguard and manage the assets and resources of this city, to do what is the second most important thing besides keeping our people safe, and that's to be a good fiscal steward and not make use of their services because we have folks who have, again, interjected themselves into the powers and duties that should otherwise be the province of the administration because they have the votes to be able to do so. This resolution represents an effort for us to try and, again, go forward. The reason given for why it is that we should not make use of Mr. Grigsby is because of the provisions of our ordinance that says that we can't do business with folks who owe us money. We attempted to try and resolve that initially by offering to put those dollars into a escrow account and allow them to be, the issues to be resolved by binding arbitration without incurring the time and expense and the effort of a lawsuit. That was not received in a positive fashion. And so now what we've done is gone back and actually been able to show that this council, and probably examples of previous councils as well, but this council has in fact, without having any money placed in escrow, without any other provision for the city to be compensated, has in fact waived this very ordinance that you all identify now as the reason as to why we should not go forward with being able to do business with Mr. Grigsby. And when you don't find a willingness to be open to, again, that type of compromise, that type of effort, that type of spirit, then yes, it does make you wonder exactly what is the motivation, what are the reasons. I've said this before, I think they're both green and, unfortunately, possibly black as well. And I believe that that is something that makes us a poor city. It makes us a city that we should not be in 2014. It makes us a city that's still filled with lots of faces that look like mine who get a chance to go and have a job, but that are greatly challenged when it comes to looking for a real opportunity to do business. And if we ever expect that wide gap of wealth, that I commend the good folks from the Shreveport Committee of 100 for recognizing a couple of years ago, and their willingness to step forward and work with the city and the parish and other entities to start the Minority Supplier Institute so that we can, in fact, begin to help to nurture and build and grow a real professional and entrepreneurial class in this community, within the minority community, within the black community. But this is an example of someone who has come in and already done that without the need or the assistance of that type of an effort, who reached out and helped to elevate and empower not just black but white as well, taught them, mentored them, and put them on a path that allowed them to be able to grow and expand their practices. Took this young lady who's behind me, that many of you all have now identified as our resident expert, who's helped to guide and navigate us on the most recent matter, which was a blueprint of the Grigsby plan from before. But this young lady, who's a child of this community, graduate of Huntington High School, an honors graduate of Centenary with a degree in finance with a 3.7 grade average, was working as a dance instructor before Calvin Grigsby hired her, and developed a kind of a mentor-mentee relationship that allowed her to learn this business and this industry. In the span of 5 years has positioned her to be able to sit here today as the Assistant Chief Administrative Officer of the City of Shreveport. But now, as much as I respect and appreciate the great work that she's doing, I would much rather have her doing what she was doing prior to coming to work for the City of Shreveport. And that was out helping to grow and build a business with the face attached to it that was unlike any of the others that had ever been in that room before. Serving as a role model for her family, her community, and for a city. This council has taken that opportunity away, has blocked that door of opportunity. This particular resolution seeks to give us a path forward and just simply ask that we have a chance now with this additional perspective added to it to go forward. And if you still don't want to vote against it, then at least allow us to be able to have a vote that says, we don't want to put it off the agenda. We either vote for it because we believe it's the right thing to do, or we'll vote against it because we think it's a bad thing to do. And as you said, Mr. Shine, allow our folks who have interest to come here to this venue, to this forum, and to express themselves on the matter one way or the other. Thank you, Mr. Shine. Thank you, council members.
All right, let's move on.
Again, we're under Section B, Introduction of Resolutions not to be adopted prior to May 27, 2014. Number 88 authorizes the mayor to execute an amendment to the agreement with the Northwest Louisiana Youth Golf and Education Foundation, Incorporated, doing business as First Tee of Northwest Louisiana.
Let me ask Shelley. Shelley,
Yes.
Shelley, how's that First Tee program coming along?
I think it's come along, they're doing well, the program itself. This would actually, what this would do is change the way the maintenance of the golf course is being handled. Since 2009, we've had some time to learn and figure out what's going to work best, and we believe what will actually work better for them is for them to actually have employees on their staff that they pay to maintain. What's been happening is we've had 2 city employees there, but they don't have supervision or leadership, and we just feel this will be a better way to maintain the course.
Okay, let me ask you this. Are they getting any, I want to say, I guess you could even start earlier than this, because Jeff probably started playing golf when he was about 7 years old.
Never played a game of golf in my life.
Oh, Jeff.
Have not had the time.
Are we getting any young kids into this organization? I mean, are we bringing them? Are we bringing quite a few in? Or we just got just a few?
Now, they have a large program, First Tee does, all in their, everybody who is in that program are youth. I mean, it's a program designed for youth players.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know at one time, we were kind of actively recruiting kids from the different high schools, you know, because Caddo Parish High School had a pretty good golf program among the, Mr. Sibley, if I can say this, among the predominantly black high schools. Is that still part of that program?
Actually, first he actually starts with children even younger, trying to interest them in golf, even in the elementary and middle school ages, so that they would be prepared to be members of their golf teams when they get in high school. So it's a program that starts much earlier than high school. And that's the goal, is to introduce golf to children who don't normally have an opportunity to play it when they are.
Right.
That's what that program's doing.
That's good. I don't, Dale, maybe you knew about it. Maybe you've been going out there playing a little golf. But I have not. Kind of like Jeff. I have not. I've, hit a few balls, but I'm not really what you would call a golfer like Sam Jenkins over here. Or either Arthur Thompson.
I'm from Minden.
That's right, I forgot. I forgot, man, Minden, they don't have any golf courses for Art and his people. Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shelley.
Mr. Sibley, would you please?
Yes, sir. Resolution number 89 authorizes the acceptance of $16,000 from the Community Foundation for the Paint Your Heart Out program.
That's great.
So that's additional money?
I'm sure they
It's
probably
additional.
counted it, but yes, ma'am.
This is
In
the
addition to what's
formalization.
already been done?
It's the formalization of what had already been committed to.
Right.
Okay, all right.
Number 90, Mr. Chairman.
Which was, by the way, a great success, and congratulations to
Oh, yeah.
to
They did a great
Marcia
job.
and the department. It was wonderful.
In fact, I think at some point we will be bringing all of those parties here
Great.
for a formal recognition. And we have Championship Tuesday tomorrow, so
Yeah.
may not be. Bonnie, you'll give us an indication of when we'll be bringing those folks down. Exactly.
Resolution 90 authorizes the waiver of rental fees for Riverview Park Thursday through Sunday, May 29th through June 1st for the USA Wakeboard Nationals Tournament.
This is similar to last year's. This is just an update of what we did last year. The Sports Authority folks contacted me and asked me to put it forward. And if you'll recall, we did the same thing last year. So they're coming back, and they've got a little bit bigger of a group this time, so we're happy to have them back.
And Mr. Shine, I know you were not able to make my slalom run on last year, so I'm inviting you to once again. I'm once again.
Ron and I both.
Inviting you to make sure
Right.
you make time on your calendar to catch me.
That's right. I'm volunteering.
He said
Ron,
he'll be there.
too.
He
We'll
didn't say
be
he was gonna
there.
run, he'll be there.
We're gonna put an extra motor on the boat this year so we can get the speed up a little higher.
Okay. Okay. In relation to that, I came in contact with a couple of preachers, pastors. Some want you to call them pastors, others want you to call them preachers. I think, Mr. Mayor, that they're going to get in contact with you. It's if they have not already. It's a national. Dale, you and I don't know anything about this, but it's a National Baptist Association.
I think we were already in communication with them, Mr. Shine.
Great.
Back there, we're initially looking at being headquartered, I think, at the Clarion. Their numbers grew to a number where they needed to have larger accommodations. I think they've been in contact and communication with Sam Wazan at this point.
Great,
We're looking to welcome them to the city.
And they also wanted a little cut. I told them if they would get with you, and if you brought it to the council, I'd see if I couldn't get it across the council. They seem to be, I told them they seem to be a pretty good group of fellas.
Well, we have hosted them in several similar groups before.
That's right.
And if you'll recall, one of the things that we did was to come up with the nonprofit rate allows us to be able to have the kind of flexibility we need in order to be able. That's what brought the Mardi Gras cruise back in, and some of the other groups that we had lost initially. After the convention center first opened, that moved to Bossier and some of the others.
That's right.
It's that kind of flexibility that now gives us. So we'll let you know.
If you work with them, Ron and I see if we can't get it across the council, because a bunch of preachers ought to be a pretty good group. Dale, we don't have to worry about them going out spending too much money with the slot machine. No comment. What you say, Dale? You ain't gonna go that far.
No comment. No
Because now, you know, Sam meet with him from time to time, so.
I'm not gonna touch that one, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, he'll have you and I, sticking out front there. Okay, going on, Dale.
Mr. Shine?
Yes.
I will say this as a good Methodist. I did learn long ago when I went fishing.
Right.
To take 2 Baptists with me, to never take 1.
Why is that?
I'll tell you that one after the council.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute now. You're gonna have Sam looking at me and you kind of funny. Cause
I'm gonna ask you
Sam is a good Baptist.
I'm gonna ask you exactly what he said.
Oh, okay. You see him, man. All right.
Section C.
Let's move on, please.
These, introduction of ordinances not to be adopted prior to May 27, 2014. Number 46, levies a tax of 8 and 64/100 meals per dollar on all property, subject to ad valorem taxation within the bounds of the Downtown Development District of the City of Shreveport, as defined by Act 554 of 1078, as amended for the year 2014.
Any questions? If not, let's move on.
Number 47, levies various taxes totaling 17 and 65/100 meals per dollar on all property, subject to ad valorem taxation within the City of Shreveport for the year 2014.
Any questions? If not, let's move on.
Ordinance 48 levies a tax of 22 and 5/100 meals per dollar on all property, subject to ad valorem taxation within the City of Shreveport for the year 2014 for the purpose of paying principal and interest on the outstanding general obligation bonds of the City of Shreveport.
Any questions? If not, let's move on.
Ordinance 49 amends the 2014 general fund budget. This is regarding the First T program.
Okay, I think we've had some
Ordinance 50 amends the 2014 Community Development Special Revenue Fund budget. This involves some funding from HUD and Louisiana Workforce that's been reconciled within Community Development's budget.
And is that, I wasn't clear when I read it, is it basically that we've gotten our confirmation on what the allocations are from those programs, and so we're
Could we
adjusting?
That's correct. Bonnie is.
Bonnie, you want to come up just a minute? I hate to have you to.
She's nodding her assent.
I hate to have you to do the walking, but you understand how it is. Bonnie, you've done such a fine program with that department over the last 15 years.
18.
Wow, 18 years. Bonnie, you're getting a few strands of gray hair then.
I am.
Okay. All right.
It's, we're reconciling our last year funds programs because we've been cut so drastically. Those that we're going to not do, and we're looking at, we evaluated our whole program budget. So you're going to have some carryover dollars as well as our new appropriation.
Got it. So the new appropriation obviously is decreased.
Correct.
Seems like it's always decreasing. But the other part is a reflection of the carryover from the prior years.
Right, that we're de-obligating.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Bonnie, thank you.
You're welcome.
Jeff, is it sufficient? All right, Dale, let's move on.
Ordinance 51 closes and abandons a 50-foot wide portion of Independence Avenue running between South Fairway Drive and Cloverdale in the Country Club Heights subdivision, Unit 5, located in Section 8, Township 17, Range 14 West, Caddo Parish, Louisiana.
Okay, let's move on, and if there's no question.
Ordinance 52 authorizes the mayor to execute a contract with Dr. David Clemens to grant access and permission to plant and maintain live oak trees on the east right-of-way of Creswell Avenue.
That's all of it, isn't it?
That's me.
That's Mike. Yeah. Okay, Mike said he's all right with it.
Ordinance 53 amends the 2014 capital improvements budget.
And I'll just give a brief couple of comments on that, and I'll provide some additional information to everyone on this. But this is something that I've introduced. This is legislation that's meant to move forward projects that are already designed but didn't have construction funds in the first bond sale. There's a second bond sale is still necessary. This isn't a permanent solution for anything, but what it does do is allow to move forward those projects that are ready to be moved forward. We still need to be looking towards a second bond sale, but this would at least allow to move forward some projects that have already been designed. Those projects are all of those across the city that have been designed. That includes Hattie Perry, Valencia Park, Cargill Park, Mamie Hicks, Billberry, and CC Antoine. The funds would come from a variety of locations. Again, I do have some notes on this that I can provide to give you a little bit of a little bit of a better idea about it. But the funds come from some projects that have been completed and had excesses in their budget. There are some that are nearing completion and have estimated that they have excesses in those projects. There are some that a substantial amount needs to remain in the project so that it can move forward. And then there are some that are projects that do not have any currently planned design or purchase in them. And so the intent here is to be able to move forward these projects without slowing down other projects. I do, certainly this is what I'm offering, and I think it will be able to provide that, but I certainly would invite everybody to look at it, and we'll have a few weeks to discuss it and talk a little bit about what else it says. But I'll be happy to provide additional information, but just wanted to give everybody a little overview.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
I mean, is this a common practice? Can this be done?
Well, it's similar.
What's administration, really? I mean, is this?
It can be done.
I'll allow the councilman to.
Okay.
I mean, it has been done in the past. It's just a reallocation. In the legislation, it does say specifically that funds will be moved back after the sale of the second bond, a second bond sale, which is why, again, I say this is sort of a temporary solution. We still need to be having the conversation. We still need to be moving forward with the second bond sale of discussion. But this does allow for us to see some results of the citizens voted on in the 2011 bond issue and move forward with some of those projects. So.
Now, you gave me this. Now, this says what now?
That one's not from me. I think that was something separate that the council staff was passing out at the same time. I'm not sure what that is.
Jackie, you passed it.
Yeah, that's, we'll be getting to that one in a minute,
Okay.
obviously.
I was thinking it was in reference to what he was, okay, I was trying to figure it out. Okay.
Oh, that's Mr. Vance, that's your zoning issue.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
As Dale was about to state, these are actions that the council is authorized to be able to do. The real question is it wise, is it advisable? And we would offer that at this point it's not. We certainly appreciate what the councilman is intending to do because obviously you have folks who are in your district and in his district and in other districts across the city who are especially anxious to see these specific parks and recreational projects go forward. You have the Mamie Hicks project in the Cherokee Park area that has been shovel ready for over a year. The same with the Valencia Park project, the same with the Hattie Perry project, the Cargill project, and others that are absolutely ready to go. And you do have some projects like the Barnwell Center that are at this point waiting to get some direction in terms of how they go forward. This represents an effort, and I think smartly so, to address those folks who are the constituents of those parks and those facilities who want to see some action, to see something done. And those voices have been speaking up, and they're getting louder. And this potentially provides a way to be able to do something without having to do the second bond sale. What it does in fact do is take away from some projects that are not even at this point completely finished at this point, like the police facility, which is still yet to be completely done. and I've not had a chance to review some of the others. What it does not do, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm looking here, I don't see anything for the Ockley drainage ditch project. I don't see anything for any of the other drainage projects that are funded.
You're not wrong. This is specifically the SPAR projects. So this is again not a complete solution. I don't think, like I said before, I don't think we should stop the discussion of moving forward on the second bond sale. But this is a way to move forward on those projects where some money can be reallocated. And like I say, I do hope that the administration has a chance to look at it, and I hope that you find the same that I've done. That I believe that the amount of money that's taken from these projects will allow those other projects to move forward to completion and have their progress without, this won't halt those, because that's the intention, is this would not halt the progress of other projects, but it would allow these to move forward.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that clarification, but if you allow me to finish, it does not include anything for the existing drainage projects. It does not include anything for the existing street projects that are still in need of funding. Neither does it do anything for, and we're dealing with this issue very specifically, in addition to the streets and the drainage issue, we have substantial numbers of sewer and water projects that are also shovel ready and ready to go forward, and that need to be funded as well. And so I appreciate the intent, and again, it would allow us, with regard to these particular projects, to get them going in short order. Doesn't do anything about those others. It could be a part of an effort by which we could start some work while we're waiting for the actual process of the second bond sale to move forward. But I would think that the larger question and consideration here, as important as parks and recreation are to me, and they are extremely important, if we're going to look to move, and I think part of the question becomes in which particular categories and classifications can these bond dollars be shifted, whether they have to be from SPAR and public buildings and what have you. There are actually some other considerations, like the street projects, like the drainage projects, and more importantly, the sewer and water projects, that might be of a higher priority in terms of what the city's actual needs are than what these parks and recreational projects may be. I know that if Artie Cesario were here right now, he would give us that speech about the folks whose homes are being damaged. I know the Browning Street folks with their drainage project would tell us about the homes that are flooded. I know the folks who have sewage backing up into their homes would tell us about the sewage projects that need to be done as well. I'm interested in pursuing the discussion and the dialogue. It needs to be, I think, part of a larger discussion in terms of how we go forward on all of these. Certainly, this will get us to a point to where we can, in fact, do these recreational facilities. But to do the recreational facilities without also at the same time have a scenario that talks about what we do for drainage, what we do for streets, and what we do for water and sewer is something that causes me some additional concern. I appreciate Councilman Everson, you putting this out here for us to be able to engage in this kind of a public discourse and dialogue about it, and hopefully it represents, maybe along with Resolution 87, some way in which we begin to make some movement and advance and actually do all of what needs to be done, and continue to see this thing go forward. Not to mention, in addition to the bond issue projects of 2011, this council also, and correct me if I'm wrong, was it last year that we voted on the water and sewer rate increase?
About a year ago.
About a year ago, in 2013, those rates have been in effect since October of last year. Since that point in time, we have in fact gotten the revenue that is necessary to move forward with the revenue bond projects that need to be done for the consent decree. That particular document is with the judge right now. We're waiting for it to be finalized, and as soon as we get it back, we're going to sign off on it so we can begin that in earnest. But we'd love to be able to begin the clock ticking on those 12 years several months prior to before it officially starts, so that we can be just that much farther along and actually get this done and be able to move forward. So with those considerations, I look forward to hopefully having some additional discussion with Councilman Everson and the rest of the council about this over the next 2 weeks when we come back for a vote.
And Mr. Mayor, I do know that if this is not something that the administration favors. I've heard the old term about dragging your feet. So, and I know you do wear, what, size 15, 16?
Yes, sir.
And you do know how to drag them.
Well, we don't want to drag them because, again, we've done that long enough.
I know, but if it boils down to that, I've seen you do that, so
Well,
I'm
now-
hoping that Jeff can convince you. And Jeff is a very persuasive person, because he's convinced me on a few things here and there. You know, I'd like to see that.
I guess I'm just saying, as important as parks and recreation
Right.
are, and you know that there's no one
That's right.
coming from my background who
That's
believes them to
right.
be more important in this room. Obviously,
That's
some
right.
just as much, but nobody more so.
That's right.
Parallel with that, parallel with their level of importance,
Right.
are our streets, are the drainage projects,
That's right.
as well as our water and our sewer projects that need to be done. Those projects are shovel-ready, ready to go. They also, I think, is worthy of consideration, and I'm not an engineer and won't play one here nearly as much as Mr. Shine, me and you play lawyer.
That's right, we do.
But the one thing that...
And that's one thing I can be accused of, playing lawyer now, maybe not calling your name or two. But
The one thing I have been told is that architectural and engineering plans do have a life cycle. And that life cycle is
That's
about
right,
3
they do.
years. And we're about halfway through the life cycle of the engineering and design work that's been done for most of these projects. And so
Well, we'd have to spend additional to update them.
before we have to spend additional dollars going back and having those projects redone, because for the contractors who would accept the opportunity to go out and do these, they have to be bonded for them. And they want to make sure that the circumstances have not changed from the time in which the project was initially engineered to the point when they commenced construction. Specifically, we saw that happen in Mr. Corbin's district with Miramont Street, where in fact we had, in anticipation of having construction dollars available to go forward in a quicker time frame than they actually became available. We had engineering that was done, thought that was shovel ready, discovered as we went back prepared to go forward that those documents were at that point past due, that conditions and circumstances in terms of the physical dynamics of the street had changed, and they had to go back and actually re-engineer the project, which cost additional money and time before we could go forward.
But I thought also you might have been indicating to Jeff in a nice way that you might need him to engineer 87 across the council.
Well, I'd like to see a larger vision, Mr. Shine.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a larger, broader vision.
That was what I got out of the remarks you made to Jeff, and I don't know whether Jeff understood that or not.
Just a larger vision,
But-
Mr. Shine. I think this is a good
You're as well as
consideration.
anyone else.
I think it's a good consideration and something that should make the folks in these neighborhoods smile.
Right.
I think that
And
we
if you
just
do
need
those
to.
streets, that's right, and 87 would do that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you,
you,
Jeff.
Sean.
Anybody else? If not, Mr. Sibley, please, let's move on.
Also for introduction is ordinance 54. It authorizes an amendment to the agreement and lease with MB Industries LLC. This matter is not to be adopted prior to June 10th, 2014.
Thank you.
What exactly will this amendment provide? I saw the ordinance that was authorizing it, but I didn't see what the
We-
actual amendment was.
Mr. Shine?
The NBI?
Yes, sir.
We've asked this to be placed on by title, because this is a situation that, by state statute or by charter or both, where these types of agreements are 3 readers. We have minimum, I think those are state statutes that require advertising time. And so the specifics of those changes are still being discussed right now. But what we wanted to do, knowing that the earliest that it would be available for the council to have any sort of consideration of would be June 10th, we wanted to start the clock, the ticking on the actual advertising time, so that by the time we got everything to a point here within the administration, crystallized and finalized, and then we could share that with the council and the rest of the public, we'd be able to move forward in a 2-week time frame as opposed to having to come back, or a 2 to 4 week time frame as opposed to starting that 6-week time frame at that point. So this is on by title, so that
Chairman.
there will be some changes, but we don't have the specifics at this point.
Yes, sir.
Are we going to have an ordinance tomorrow? Do we?
We will have something. Terry has been out on vacation. I think she may still have that.
We have an electronic copy.
We have it.
Okay. All right.
But the specifics and the details on this will come together between now and the next meeting in this month. And we'll have that full 2-week period of time, if not longer, to be able to share that in detail with the council. But we didn't want to wait because it would have taken us even further. And this is something that is extremely time sensitive in terms of the potential opportunity it represents.
Okay, Mr. Sibley, please.
Section D is ordinances on second reading and final passage. Number 35 authorizes the mayor to execute all necessary instruments to effect the exchange of certain immovable property owned by the city of Shreveport for certain immovable property owned by Louisiana CVS Pharmacy LLC. This matter was previously postponed, and I'm looking at Malcolm and Robert. Is there any reason for us to continue to ask for a postponement? Okay. Great. Great.
Okay.
Number 36 amends and reenacts Article 4, Chapter 30 of the Code of Ordinances relative to fireworks and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. This matter was previously postponed. There is one amendment.
Any questions? If not, let's move on.
Number 43 is an ordinance to repeal Ordinance 34 of 2014, which amended Chapter 106 of the Code of Ordinances, the City of Shreveport zoning ordinance, and which rezoned property located on the east side of North Market, 250 feet north of Pullman Road, Shreveport, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from B1 Buffer Business District to R1D Urban One Family Residence District, and to rezone the property described herein as B3 Community Business District.
Councilman Chung?
Yes.
At our last legislative meeting, I asked of this council to support me by voting no to ordinance 43. And if you would allow me to just go on to 44 and 45, yes to 44, and of course yes to 45 at the request of the citizens and the association in this community, within the North Highlands community.
Okay, so that you ask them. And I know you will repeat that tomorrow.
Right.
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
The documents that I had passed out in front of you, they were given to us by Mr. Vance, and they were prepared for another, I guess, the MPC. But the reason that I passed them out is, if you look in there, there's a map which shows the property, and he wants to divide the property into 2 lots, Lot 1 and Lot 2. At the City Council meeting before the last, well, the MPC, when it went before the MPC, what he wanted to do with Lot 1 was he wanted to make that go from B1 to B3 so that he could sell automobiles there in front of his house. On Lot 2, where his house sits, he wanted that to be rezoned from B1 to R1D, I believe it is. But the MPC made a mistake, and Lot 1 was rezoned, or sent to us an ordinance to rezone Lot 1 to residential rather than Lot 2. So what 43 does is to repeal ordinance number 34 of 2014, which zoned Lot 1 as residential, and to zone it B3, which the applicant wants, but which the MPC did not agree with, and Mrs. McCulloch is not agreeing with. So she's going to ask that you vote against number 43. On number 44, it also repeals ordinance number 34, which had the wrong zoning, but it puts it back to B1 where it was before, the front lot. And then 45 will rezone the second lot, Lot 2, from B1 to R1D, is what he requested in the first place. So I thought some discussion of that or some explanation would be needed at this meeting.
Okay. We got that, Ms. McCullough. We'll be listening for you tomorrow to
Okay.
bring
And
that.
I assume that Mr. Vance will be here because it is on appeal, because the MPC did not do what he asked them to do.
I know he probably will, and he probably will speak to Ms. McCullough before the council meeting, but what Ms. McCullough suggests is what we'll consider. All right, Mr.
Councilman
Sibley?
Sean.
Mr. Thompson just covered 43, 44, and 45. Ordinance 41 is zoning matter C-414. It's an ordinance amending Chapter 106 of the Code of Ordinances, the City of Shreveport zoning ordinance, by rezoning property located on the southwest side of West Wilderness Way between Landmark Drive and Skipton Drive, Shreveport, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from R2 Suburban Multifamily Residence District to R2 PUD Suburban Multifamily Residence Plan Unit Development District.
Okay, any questions? Mike? Mike is all right with it? Let's move on.
Ordinance 42 is zoning matter C-2014. It's an ordinance amending Chapter 106 of the Code of Ordinances, the City of Shreveport zoning ordinance, by rezoning property located on the northwest corner of Shreveport-Barksdale Highway, Service Road, and Knight Street, Shreveport, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from B2 Neighborhood Business District to B3 Community Business District.
Okay. Mr. Sibley, as a stranger who just came in back there. You see the stranger with the glasses on and the yellow shirt?
It's like Mr. Lucky from the parish.
Is that Mr. Lucky? Okay. That's the mayor's friend, huh?
Absolutely he is.
All right.
In fact, it prompts me to remember there's a report I want to give to the council regarding the dialogue about the formation of the Caddo Shreveport Office of Emergency Preparedness and Homeland Security.
Okay.
And
See, you came in right at the right time.
Mr. Lucky's right at the epicenter of that effort.
That's right. That's right. We would have missed that. Okay, Mr. Sibley, move on.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes all the scheduled legislation. I think now we're into
It
table
sure does.
legislation.
And I didn't mean to take anything away from Mr. Thompson. Mr. Thompson,
Yes, sir.
Webster Parish Training School,
No, sir.
Southern University.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not
They
aware.
just changed the name when you got there. It was Webster Parish Training School before you got there, and then they
That's
changed
where-
it to Webster High School
That's
just
where
for
my
you.
99-year-old mother went to school.
Well, they just changed it just for you, Mr. Thompson.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not aware of any ordinance that's on the table, legislation that any council member wants to remove.
Okay, if not, let's move on to Ms. Farnell. Where's Ms. Farnell? Is she still in here?
Yes, sir. She's coming forward.
Oh, sure is. Mr. Sibley, you have better eyes than I do.
I had a better angle.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay. God damn.
Good afternoon. We have 3 cases this afternoon. The first case is in Ms. Councilwoman McCullough's area. It is a bill. It is a bill dispute. This was a citation that was in it for 1677 Anna Street. We did a court citation for a lot of scrap metal, debris, furniture, and a lot of things that was on the property. We went through the complete court. It was arraigned on October 18th. Defendant was represented by attorney. Trial was continued on February the 15th of 2012. He was represented by an attorney. May 23rd, 2012, it was continued. At that time, he was represented by attorney. July the 11th of 2012, it was continued again, and he was represented by an attorney. In September the 10th of 2012, the defendant was found guilty and the city was to take over the cleaning of the property at the defendant's expense. He was, as I said, found guilty. There was a trial. At that time, what we did, we put the property out for bids. We had 3 contractors to go out and look at the property. We received one bid that was $6,000, received another one that was $4,500, and we received another one for $4,450. So we took the lowest bid, which was $4,450. We since cleaned the property up. As I said, that was all in 2012. He did come to my office on April the 22nd. I did explain to him that it was valid, and Mr. Lawrence is here today to dispute it. The total cost for the property was $4,450 plus $150 administrative cost, which is a total of $4,600.
So have we discussed the payment plan with him?
Yes, but that wasn't acceptable.
He didn't accept the payment plan? Okay, let's hear from him.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Lawrence, you want to come up, please?
I'm Johnny Lawrence again, and since we all respect the Holy Bible, I just concerned about I always want to ask a question. Are y'all considered the head of gold? What I mean by that, situations that happen in the city nobody else can handle, can y'all take care of stuff like that?
We have these situations that occur all the time. It's nothing new.
Okay, first of all, this situation should have never arrived because, as I said earlier, I was already complying to the orders of the judge. The problem is, one of your police officers, Corporal Dunn, came out and stole my truck, and that's what started the ball rolling downhill. When he did that, it basically destroyed me mentally and took me off balance. And I've tried all the way up to the mayor's office to try to get some resolution on this situation. I ain't got no resolution on it yet. And that is why we're here today, because of the action he had did. If he had never came in and bothered me, we wouldn't be here today.
Why did he take your truck?
I don't know why he took it. And to this day, I haven't been able to see any kind of documents that explain legally why he took it. But I know he hadn't did nothing to cause me problems since he took it. But now you got me up for theft charges because I moved some vehicles off of some property. A lady gave us permission, told us to move them vehicles, but now you want to come back and charge me theft for it. But if you charging me theft, why you not charging the people that told us to move the vehicles? And why you not charging the people that bought the vehicle? Do we have some kind of discrimination problem here? Why am I trying to take the fall guy for something that someone else had the authority and make the decision to do? It wasn't my decision to move those vehicles. I'm just a person out working, dealing in scrap metal. Now, I don't got arrested down at General Scrap. I don't got put in jail. Had to pay money to get bond out. Had to borrow money to get bond out. Then paid all that money back I got borrowed. If they knew that them vehicles was stolen, why didn't they charge the people that bought the vehicles as well for accepting stolen material? You know, it's something about the picture I'm not getting clear here. I read the definition of theft. And from what I read in the law book, it ain't nothing close to what they got me charged with here. So, until we can resolve the fact that he came in and took it upon his own authority to be judge and hangman, when he decided to remove that vehicle, and I gave him no permission. Not only did I give him no permission, but he came on my property, trespass. I'm down there working, cleaning like I'm supposed to have been doing because I'm on the deadline. And next thing I know, he's up in my yard harassing my dog. I got to stop what I'm doing to come and try to see what's going on. Got to put the dog in the house. Then I said, what's the problem? He said, this your vehicle? I said, yeah, it's mine. He said, well, it got to be moved. I said, well, there's no problem. I can move.
Say why? It had to be moved?
He didn't say why.
Ms. Farnell, normally when vehicles are removed, as I understood, we had a similar situation over on, was it Pete Street, Normal Street, you know, over with Mr. Nathaniel, I've forgotten his last name, Francis. And he had several vehicles. I think it was 4 or 5 vehicles that were moved. Is that a similar situation? Was he?
No, Mr. Lars, in our citation, wasn't cited for any vehicles.
Okay.
This is a total separate thing that Corporal Dunn is one of our CLO officers, and I'm not sure what happened in that situation. This was not something that...
Chief Shaw familiar with this? Police?
I'm not sure because, as I said,
He said the
this
police
is a
came and
property
removed
standard
his car.
issue
Did
that
it have
has to
anything
do with
this
the...
property standards issue?
No, ma'am.
Oh,
No,
okay, it
this
had
is-
nothing
this
to
is
do with your
separate.
property standards issue. The car. You
The
understand
car,
that, Mr.
along
Lars?
with the theft and all of that.
That had nothing to do with your property standards issues. That was something else.
Yeah, that was something else with Corporal Dunn.
The problem is not whether I understand, the problem is whether y'all understand. Whether you understand what I'm trying to explain to you is the fact that this man came out and started this whole situation. He called the property peoples when I was already in the process of doing what the judge had already told me to do. He the one called them. He called the property people the same day he came and stole my vehicle. And that vehicle is listed in the DMV as stolen because it was done through falsification documentation. Now, I'm correct myself earlier when you asked me what did he tell me. He told me he put a sticker on the vehicle. Man didn't put no sticker on that vehicle. Then he turned around and told me a lie in my face, say he put 2 stickers on it. He put nail sticker on that vehicle. I just had finished paying for that vehicle. You know how many dipster dumpsters I jumped up and out of? How many times I wouldn't pass no metal on the street, denying my health care and everything else, trying to pay for that vehicle. And then he all of a sudden, he just comes in and take it and just basically destroys everything that I've worked for and supposed to been doing. This the issue that nobody wants to address.
But Mr. Lars, we're dealing with 2 separate issues.
I know you are, but I'm trying to get you to understand what caused that problem, what created that.
But we can't address that. That's another issue that you have to hire you an attorney to address. That's a totally different issue.
That's a totally different issue.
Yeah, you're dealing with the SPD now. You're talking SPD. We're talking property standards. And I understand the story that you're telling us today, but
Yeah.
we're not addressing the SPD situation. That's not what we're doing here now. We're addressing your property standards issue.
Okay,
Right now,
okay,
look
well,
at
let's
the agenda.
address the property standard issue
Look at
then.
the agenda, we're addressing property standards.
Okay, let's address the property issue because you don't want to address the reason the property became to this, the way it
I'm
was.
listening to
But
you and
let's,
I hear you, and it's not that I don't believe
Okay,
you, but we're not addressing
okay,
it.
well, let's address the property issue then. When I went to court to correct your record, the last time I went to court, I was not represented by a lawyer. The lawyer did not come and show up to represent me. And I requested to the DA that I have a change of venue because I already knew that I wasn't going to get treated properly in that court. And he asked me why, and I told him, I said, because I had a complication with the police, and I ended up going to jail, and ended up going to the hospital, and the doctor recommended to them that I be sent to the VA and be given treatment. But now, instead of them doing that, they decided to send me to the jailhouse, gave me the wrong medicine, put me on suicide watch, then give me a razor blade while I'm in jail, give me the wrong medicine, I ended up cutting the wrist. So,
Okay, can I say
let's get back to the, I'm trying to paint you a picture here. I'm trying to paint you a picture where we're going with this here situation. So, I told the judge that they hadn't provided me no itemized statement showing what they did on my property. How you gonna come out and charge me? First of all, I tried to get that property adjudicated, you know, because where I live, there ain't enough room to do anything. There's not enough space for what I'm trying to do. And after I see I couldn't get the property adjudicated, I already cut my loss on trying to do anything else right there, 1677 Anna Street where I live. I ready to try to move on to another spot because my business was growing. And I didn't see no way that I was going to be able to make no progress there. So that's why I was in the process of getting everything straight so I can just leave that part there where I've been working on just like it was. But when they came out there and they cleaned up, they didn't need to come out there with no crane and no track hole, no dump hole. to clean that little spot where I live. Because the stuff that I had, I was already working towards getting it taken care of. I had stayed up all night long that Sunday night. Been working all that weekend trying to get all my stuff moved out the way. So whenever they want to come there and do what they could do, none of my stuff wasn't been in the way. But for you to come and tell me that you're going to charge me for some grass and some old rotten trees and some logs and some bushes and stuff that was there even before I came to that property, I don't see no legality to that. Now you're going to charge me for the property that I live on, I'm responsible for. I can understand you giving me a bill for it. But you can't come out there and charge me for a whole bunch of stuff that was there that you decided to clean up before I even moved to that area.
Okay, well, I was talking with the chairperson because as far back as I recall, usually in a situation like this, where you're actually charged for that amount, this council don't have the authority to withdraw those charges. However, I hear your frustration. I understand your pain. But there is an appeal process beyond here. And I'm going to suggest, if you're not willing, according to Ms. Farnell, if you're not willing to agree to the payment plan, the only thing that this council can suggest to you that's within our power is that you go through the appeal process.
Okay, well, I got no problem with the payment plan, but no payment plan was never presented to me. Because if it was presented to me, I could have still been paying toward it to keep the lien from having to put the property up for sale and still at the same time be disputing it along the way. But no plan was never presented to me.
Was it offered to you?
No, it was not.
Ms. Farnell?
How much does he owe, Ms. Farnell?
$4,000.
He owes $4,000. He owes
What?
$4,600.
For what? I mean,
That was the lowest bid on the,
Yeah.
on cleaning up his property?
Right.
The lowest bid was $44.50. The administrative cost has to be added to that, which gave it a total of the entire $4,600. That's administrative cost and what it was.
But probably the property they cleaned up wasn't my property.
If the property wasn't his property, how did he get charged for it then?
This was his property, sir. We had a plaque, we had gone out there, we've got numerous complaints, and he is the owner of 1677.
Is that?
That is my property, but...
You said that is your property?
That is my property, but the two on the side of me is not mine.
All right, well, now you're not charging them for the two on the side.
Yes, they did, sir.
they did
Yes,
not.
they did.
That's property.
We can bring the pictures here, and we can present them, the same pictures that they took down there and showed to the judge and said that I was responsible for is not my property.
All right, let me say this. They're gonna take another look at it, and to make sure that it's your property. If it's not your property, I hope I know Ms. Farnell well enough to know that she would not charge you for something that did not belong to you. The other point is, Ms. Farnell, I would hope that you all would sit down with him and try to come up with a payment plan, because $4,600 would be kind of steep for Sam and I. And Sam is a lawyer, and because Dale, I cut grass for my living, so it would be pretty hard for me to cut that many lots in order, Ms. Farnell, to be able to pay for him. Would you be willing to sit down and come up with a payment plan? And then I know Ms. McCullough will initiate a piece of legislation where Ms. McCullough, what we might be able to cut him a little slack, if I'm using the right term.
Is that common practice? I mean, that came up once before. I need to know from the administration if that's common practice.
Mr. Sean, Mayor?
Yes.
Certainly, I'll get with Ms. Farnell, and we'll work with Mr. Lars to get something done, but I wanted to point out a couple of things I think may have gotten missed. The reason property standards went and cleared and cut it was because the court ordered that. Mr. Lars had not done it when they went to court. The court ordered that the city assume the responsibility. They went out, got the bids, executed the contract, submitted that documentation back to the court in accordance with the judge's order. That's the source of the charge that Mr. Large is disputing.
Did
If he's
y'all
not going to
explain
dispute
that?
it, we'll sit down and work something out, but he has to get beyond disputing. This wasn't something property standards did on their own. This was court ordered by the city court.
Well, did y'all explain that to Mr. Lars?
Perhaps he wasn't clear about that, I'm not sure.
So the
We had a
reason,
trial and it was found.
We tried to explain this to Mr. Lars.
You had a trial.
Mr. Lars.
Right, we don't have no.
Wait, hold up. Come on, Miss. Miss Lars, right, let her.
When we were talking about this, he wanted to talk about those cars, which I tried to explain that, and because of the fact that I had interrupted him,
Who owned the cars?
I don't know anything about the cars. That's what he came to my office to speak to me about.
Okay.
And I was trying to tell him, as I told him today, we're talking about property standards. He informed me I want to talk about that because that's how we got to here. So I had to listen to all of that. We never did come to any kind of decision on anything because he wanted to talk about that. I did advise him, you want to appeal it, that's fine. But we tried to go all through this, and I think he was a little bit upset at the time. So we could only speak about those things.
Mr. Lars, would you be willing to sit down with Ms. Farnell and Mr. Sibley, who is I found to be a very reasonable man, and see if they could not work out a payment plan. And Mr. Sibley, I would hope that you would find it in your heart to, if I'm using the right word, that Mr. Lars and I could communicate on, could cut him a little slack. I mean, now whether this is what we normally do or not, I'm not really concerned about that. I'm concerned about showing some compassion toward Mr. Lawrence and to see what we can do in order to ease some of the pain. Mr. Sibley, all of us from time to time have wanted a little pain eased. And if you say you haven't, I don't believe you. I mean, that's just human nature. So you being a very reasonable individual and Ms. Farnell being a Christian lady, let me look around and see if we have any Muslims in here. At the last council meeting, we did, Sam, so, but I would hope that we could work out something that would ease the pain for Mr. Lars. Mr. Lars seemed like he's a very hard-working man, and I know you are, right, Mr. Lawrence? You're a very hard-working man. And let's see if we can work out something. Yeah.
Let me say this. Normally, when a citizen wants to set up a payment plan, we always advise them to get with revenue because they're the ones. Revenue. That's going to come under Mr. Madden. I don't know if he's still here. That's going to come under his department because they have to sign documents and everything agreeing to the payment plan. And that's done through revenue, and they work with citizens when they come in.
I agree, but I think Mr. Sibley, as the CAO, would have to kind of sign off on this. If he kind of would kind of sign off on that, I know the head of the revenue department would kind of look favorable on it because I don't know whether I should say this or not, but Dale is his boss.
Yes, sir.
So, and Dale, I know you don't like to pull rank because you are a very reasonable person. So, I would hope that we could do something very reasonable for Mr. Lawrence. It doesn't matter who has to make that final decision.
And we'd be
I'm just asking
willing to do that, sir.
I would hope that we would do that.
Yes, sir.
In order to give him an opportunity to pay his debt.
Yes, sir.
Seems like he's an upstanding citizen. here in the city of Shreveport, and Mr. Lawrence, we like to bend over backwards working with our citizens because you all are the backbone of our city. So I'm going to turn that over to you and Mr. Sibley to see if y'all can work out something. Mr. Lawrence, would you be willing to meet with them and see if you could work out a compromise where you could gradually pay this off?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Shine, is there,
Wait a minute, just 1 minute.
is there a motion? or
I
what
was
is the
about to say, I was gonna move to uphold the decision.
Second.
Wait a minute now. What is there a motion for what now?
For anything.
To uphold the
Well,
decision.
not at this particular point. I was gonna let Ms. McCullough and maybe Mr. Sibley comment again before we go into the motion part of it.
Well, Mr. Shine, it appears though that since he appealed disputing the debt, in order for us to work on the debt, we need to establish that there is in fact a debt. So
I think this is what we're doing right now. By him, I think by him saying that, hey, look, let's sit down and work out something. He's saying, well, maybe I do owe the debt, but I want to sit down and work out something where, I mean, it's $4,600. He didn't make the kind of money that Sam or Jeff one makes on a monthly basis, and he would kind of be in my situation where, you know, we get things on credit. I used to buy my groceries.
I know, I was gonna say, I had a little hard month too.
I think our concern though was because he filed an
groceries on
appeal.
credit, Dale.
Because he filed an appeal, we just wanted procedurally, and I'll defer to Julie, procedurally should the
Julie, how
council
should
take
we,
some action.
It would make sense to, and I thought Ms. McCullough made the motion to uphold, and then you have the debt, he owes the money, but then he can go to revenue and work out the payment plan. Right. For that amount.
let's see, Ms. McCullough, before you make, do you understand, Mr. Lawrence, what's going on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's, Ms. McCullough, I'll entertain a motion from you.
So moved.
To uphold, can I get a
Second.
second on that? It's been moved and seconded by Ms. McCullough that we would uphold the findings of Property Standard Committee in lieu of,
A payment plan.
in lieu of a payment plan that could be worked out for Mr. Lawrence.
And some compassion, huh?
Oh, sure, we want to put some compassion in it. Mr. Lawrence, you've impressed me. I think you are a very hard-working person. When you said Lawrence, I know Miss McCullough. I don't know, you probably remember too, there were a lot of Lawrences who lived on the Cooper Road.
I went to school with them.
And matter of fact, I'm not really that old. My hair might be a little gray, but I taught a few. Yeah, and I know and Dale.
Yes, sir.
I know I either Shelley. I know I still have that boyish look. I have that boyish look, Mayor. So, you know, I see that little grin on your face. And I'm not really that old now. So.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I was just gonna share with you that there are probably as many Lars in Red Chute, Princeton, and Halton as there are on the Cooper Road. It probably not more so.
Well, we just
large family of good folks.
That's
Yeah,
good.
my in-laws.
So that's why, Mr. Lawrence, I'm asking these people to work with you and to see if we can't come up with some kind of solution. And Dale, if I don't generally do this, but if you all need me as chairman to sit in on the negotiation, I'll be more than happy to do it.
I'm gonna schedule that right along with Grigsby, and we're going this side of the way in the Senate box
Wait
here
a
too.
minute. Yeah. You see, Dale, he trying to catch me.
Don't get it in.
This spirit of compromise.
Trying to catch me over there. That's
I think we may be able to even set up an escrow account for Mr. Lawrence as well. We're just trying to move forward, Mr. Shine.
I see that, man.
I'd be willing to even sit in on the revenue to work out something for him if he's comfortable with me being there. I don't mind sitting in.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Lawrence, we appreciate you coming down here.
Okay, is it okay if I ask 2 questions? About
Sure,
these?
sure.
First of all, is there any way you check and see why I wasn't able to duplicate the east side of the property on me? Because I did the year thing, I came down with my witnesses, but I was still denied to do the dollar on the property. Because if I could have done that, I could have got a fence put up, I could have had things organized, but once it seemed like I wasn't going to be able to have no space there to do anything, my next intention was to try to leave there.
Right.
And one other question
Taxes
is,
are owed.
when this property is adjudicated, I was told you can't put a permanent structure on it. Is that true?
I think after so many years, I believe you can, but, what is it, 6 years, 3 years, 6 years?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Charles, no, Malcolm has taken some notes. We'll be able to have an answer to that tomorrow.
Okay.
We can provide that answer to you as well, but
Okay.
we'll let him get back to his desk.
God bless you.
And
God bless you, Mr. Lars.
And we're willing to work with you, Mr. Lawrence. Appreciate you coming down. This is how you get questions settled. Appreciate you coming down.
Thank you, Councilman Shine.
You are quite welcome.
All right.
Mr.
Have a good evening.
Do the same now.
Quite welcome. Okay,
Chairman,
yes.
our next case is in your area. It is 600 West 73rd Street.
Is that
The owner
Miss Lola?
is present, sir.
Okay.
The owner is present, Mr. James Reynolds. He
Okay,
is
I'm sorry.
present.
Where's Mr. Reynolds? Come on up, Mr. Reynolds.
Mr.
Fine looking
Reynolds
young
is
man.
present.
Is that your bride with you, Mr. Reynolds? Is that your bride with you? All right. All right.
This is a structure that actually went before the Property Standards Board, and he was given 60 days. It has not been completed. We have talked, and there are some specific things that he needs to complete to make sure that everything has been done. And so he's here if he wishes to speak.
Yes, I just want to say, forgive me, I work outside and I...
Don't worry about that.
I didn't have time to go home and change, but, you know, excuse me.
Don't worry about it. You see how Ron is dressed? Ron doesn't have a tie on.
Yes,
So,
sir. I just want to say I
don't worry
had
about
some
that.
unexpected things come up this past year, and I got that all taken care of, and now I got time to, you know, get on those properties. I bought 3 of them here in Shreveport, and they were adjudicated properties, you know. And so, you know, I'm ready to go forward those properties now. So I just, you know, asked for 30 days to get this stuff taken care of, and I did get just about all the stuff that he cited me for done. You know, so the home's in good condition. So, you know, I'd just like a little time to get that taken care of.
James, that's in my area, and I'm known as a very compassionate person. And you have impressed me by coming before us and bringing your bride to be with you. So I feel like you're a family man, and generally you can almost bet on a family man. So, Ms. Farnell, if you
Yes,
don't
sir.
mind, and I'm gonna give him 30 days.
I have no problem with the 30 days. May I list the things that I want him to complete by those 30 days, sir?
And if you'll give him that list, I know, James, you would be more than happy to comply to him, right?
Okay, all right.
Second. Okay, it's been moved by the chair, second by the former chair, Mr.
June
Sam
9th.
Jenkins, that we would give you 30 days to comply to the list there. And,
Mr. Shine?
yes, ma'am.
Ms. McCall, oh, she's up.
Okay.
All right, I should.
Thank you now. And don't let me down here. All right, thank you.
Mr. Shine, the next case is in your area also. That is going to be Miss Lola M. Armstrong, and she's present. We have discussed the property and agreed to give her 60 days. She is here. She wishes to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Armstrong.
Okay, I just need 60 days to get this property clear. I'm not disputing or disagreeing with anybody that the property needs to be cleaned up. But I have been out there working. If anybody have looked, they see that it's a lot better than it was.
Yes, it is.
So I'm diligently working at it.
Ms. Armstrong, I trust you, and if you need 60 days, I used to suggest that Mr. Sibley would help out from time to time, and I think he hurt his back.
Working on that claim now.
Yeah, so we don't, I don't want to put you in that position anymore. So, Ms. Armstrong, if you need 60 days, Mr. Jenkins, I'm gonna make the motion, and if I can get a second from you, we will give you 60 days.
Okay, now it's
That's
two
July
lots.
7th.
July 7th? That's gonna be your day.
Will anybody give me the paperwork on
Yes,
this?
ma'am, they're gonna send you a list.
Thank you.
Okay, it's
Thank you
been
so
moved
much.
by the chair, second by Councilwoman McCullough, for 60 days. All in favor, vote yes. Opposed, no.
That's all I have.
Cornell, you did a good
Mr.
job
Webb,
today.
please.
Ms. Lola, you got your 60 days. All right. Adele, does that count rainy days too, or this kid day? Yes, sir.
Yeah, one other here. It's the Caddo Parish Animal Service Board decision, appealed by Mr. Daniel Keel. Miss Assistant City Attorney Christina Wembley is representing the City Attorney's Office, and
Okay.
she's here.
Okay. Would you all come up and I have a little question too about animal control.
Christina Wembley on behalf of the City Attorney's Office.
Everett Harris, Director of Animal Services and Mosquito Control.
Okay, go at it.
Attorney Dan Kill, who represents the defendant in this particular matter.
Is he here?
No, he isn't. We've agreed to continue it. He has submitted a proposed resolution to this particular situation. The Animal Services Appeals Board did declare the dog in question to be a vicious animal, and we were here today for appeal, but he has presented the city with a proposed resolution, and we're working with him on the particular matter, and we would just like the matter to be continued to the next session.
We will do that.
Will it be continued for until the next
City
administrative
council
conference?
meeting. Next city council meeting.
Administrative conference.
Oh, administrative conference.
May 23rd.
Yeah, the dog is locked up, right?
The dog is still at the Cattle Parish Animal.
So move.
Okay, moved and second by the chair by Councilman Jenkins. Just before you all go, it's a lady out in my area, and I know you all are probably familiar with it, Hollywood Heights. There is some dog up in that area, I'm told is sick, whatever it is, and they have a bunch of school kids who'll be up there, and then Shirley, we have a park in Hollywood Heights where they be playing basketball and other stuff, and I'm told that the dog is in a very horrible position, and I think one of your officers have been up there to, and I'm told by the lady now, you know, this is second and third information that I'm getting, that the officer came up and stayed out about 15 minutes and left. But would you check in on that for me, please?
Yes, sir.
It's somebody in your department that knows something about it. If not, the animal is up in the Hollywood Heights area, up around where the old Oak Park School is. Now let me say this. I drove through there and spent maybe 35 or 40 minutes. I didn't see the animal. So I don't know whether it's been caught or what, but would you check in on that for me, please?
Yes, sir. We'll do everything possible to make sure that we create a win-win in that situation.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir.
Love you for that. You are the kind of public servants that we need.
All right, sir.
All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Before Mr. Harris leaves.
Mr. Harris.
I just wanted to, I just got a note from Tanya, who says that the next administrative conference will be on a Friday, and that's the same time that we have the appeal for the Cloud Wine permit. And she just wanted to let the council members know that you do have one appeal that may be a long appeal, and we've just set another for that date. And I don't know whether the council wants to make any changes to that or not, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Art, did you also have some plans later that day?
Not me.
Okay.
Are we going to start early on that meeting?
Yeah, at 2 o'clock, I believe. That's what I was about to say.
Yeah, that's on a Friday.
We need to start early.
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
We can't,
That's okay, I just wanted to
we
bring
can't
it to
start any earlier than that, Mr. Sibley, because the chairman won't be able to get here. You all might want to come a little early and meet with Mr. Sibley, but meeting will start at 2 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Harris. Done a fine job.
And thank you for this week and last week, Mr. Harris.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know what she's thanking you for, Mr. Harris, but I want to thank you too.
Well, he served some citizens in Cherokee Park.
Oh, okay.
I'm glad you cleared that up.
Yeah.
You know, you was about to get Joe in trouble.
I needed
You was about to get the chair.
I needed to clear that young man's head up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you see, when you get to be an old man like me, nobody really cares about you. If you're young, they do. Okay,
Wisdom.
reports from officers, boards, and commissions. Why don't we have that tomorrow, Mr. Thompson?
That's up to the council.
Okay. You know, Mike always liked to kind of put you on the front burner, but Mike will take him off today.
I'll give him till tomorrow.
Okay. If we have any comments from anybody at this point? If not, this meeting is adjourned. And Mr. Sibley, I didn't need a motion.